Welcome to the Queendom Network, a platform where inspired individuals in business, career, and entrepreneurship resonate with empowerment and innovation. This is where we dive deep into the world of leadership, uncovering stories, strategies, and secrets of success from trailblazers who are shattering glass ceilings and carving their own path to greatness. Join me, your host, Mamela, as we embark on this amazing journey so that we help you become the best that God has created you to be. Welcome to the Queendom Network. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. My name, as you know, is Mamela, your host. We are here with another amazing guest. As you know, we only bring you trailblazers, glass ceiling breakers, women who are pathfinders and are really making it in their respective sphere of influence. Today, I brought you another trailblazer, another pathfinder. I've got none other than the CEO. You heard me? CEO of the Nelson Mandela Hospital, Dr. Nkuli. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you so much, Khomosa. Thank you for having me.
It's so nice to have you with us. It's been a long time coming. And
Yes.
so Dr. Nkuli was part of the people that I had reached out to record last year.
Yeah.
And we couldn't because, hey, life happened and we couldn't. But at the right time, God makes things happen. And here we are.
Absolutely. He does at his time, at the right time.
Right.
This is it. Yeah,
it's definitely so good to see you. You're so beautiful.
Thank you. Same to you.
I just love how gracious you are. And it's just such a beautiful aura to be in your presence.
It's all God, to be honest.
Oh, but what they call it Godfidence.
It's Godfidence. It can only be. Hey?
Right.
We can only get our confidence from Him.
Right. I'm so glad that to have you. And, you carry a weight with regard to the institution you represent. I know that you are a CEO, you're a doctor. But before that, you were just Nonkululeko. Tell us all about that.
And I'm still Nkuli. So, Khomosa, I grew up in Soweto. So I'm a young girl from Soweto. I was raised by my mom, who is a pastor, and thank God for that.
Wow.
Very prayerful woman, and really it's her prayers, that have really kept me and made me who I am today. So I was raised by her with my grandfather in Soweto. And yeah, that was my life. Pretty much a Joburg girl, went to school, and I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to study at a private school when I was about 10 years old. And then I got into Wits University, where then my path toward medicine started. But really, I'm just a young girl from Soweto with big dreams. Big dreams from my life. And it's really what happened during the course of my life as a young child that led me to the path of medicine.
They say, you remember that advert? And Vuyo was a big dreamer.
Yeah, a big dreamer.
So I can say that you are a big dreamer.
a big one.
Wow.
I had to be a big dreamer. As you know, if you grew up in Soweto in the 80s, it was very unstable back then. It was not necessarily safe. I'm not saying it's safer now, but it was a very different world then. And we really had to dream big,
right,
to be able to achieve our dreams from where we were.
So probably like me, you were one of the first cohorts to attend the Model C schools.
I was actually, I think there was a year, probably guys 2 years ahead of me who started. So we were the third group at that time. We started in about 1991. So it was relatively new. It was scary, because I used to walk to school in Soweto because I used to go to Sizanani in Dube, and then to suddenly have to wake up very early in the morning.
6 o'clock,
6 o'clock, the kumbis are there picking you up. You're like, it's dark in winter, and you headed out to this place that you really don't know, with people of different races that you're not really used to interacting with. But it was a good experience, and I think it put me also in a good position in life to be able to interact with so many people as I have to do now in my career.
So ngiyakusukela isikhaftini sakho had cheese.
No cheese. Peanut butter.
Even in the Model C school.
Even in the Model C school.
How was that?
It's, you know what? It's difficult because you are in a Model C school, but you're a
Right.
scholarship student, right? So it
Sure.
doesn't mean you can afford to be there. And those were some of the difficulties that we had to navigate, to remember that when I go home, I still go. I mean, I had a beautiful home. My grandfather had a beautiful home. But it's different. We went to school with people who had two kitchens, they had
Right.
houses, double door
Somebody to
garages.
assist them with skafti
Exactly.
and homework.
And homework and those things we didn't know. Our parents couldn't attend parent teacher meetings because they're at night.
There's no transport.
There's no transport at night,
Right.
So it was really you during the day you're in a different world, and at night you come back to your real life, where you grow up, where you're most comfortable. So it was really an interesting thing to navigate.
How did you, for example, juxtapose from the two worlds and literally assert yourself to be a top performer and still be, for example, very resilient and very academically astute with all those challenges that you face? Because I mean, the dynamics are completely different, and there are people like, for example, they grew up in the suburbs, and when you have to take that kumbi. And I mean, in those days, it was still stay safe. We could still walk,
we could
small
walk,
street,
yes,
and catch a taxi
Yeah,
and walk and make sure that, I mean, it was still safe. It was just those one or two incidences. I mean, I remember one time we were walking and there was a hippo. And then you had tear and you're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And it's just those small isolated incidents. But how did you converge the two worlds to make sure that you still remained who you are, a diligent student, despite the challenges that you would have faced?
Yeah. So I grew up very much in a home, a very spiritual Christian home. We used to go to church every Sunday. I was part of Sunday school. And so for me, just that guidance and that framework of having my life is founded on God, on principles, and certain values. And so I grew up with that. And so for me, it wasn't about that the school was different, sure, but I knew who I am because God says I am, and not that you don't see and feel the differences, but that, I mean, God has a different path for me. And I was a very happy child, had a happy childhood. Going to church was wonderful. The neighborhood we're in, and that's what's important for children, not necessarily the big houses and the money and all of that. But I was generally a happy child. And I grew up with my grandfather who had achieved a lot in his life. He had he was a boxing manager. He had one of the big boxing champions in South Africa. So I had a good role models around me to say I can be whoever I want to be. He used to travel to Las Vegas, Brazil, on all these fights. And so for me, I knew there is a world that I can access, regardless of whether I am in Soweto or not.
Nice.
And so just being in that school just gave me added advantages, but it didn't make me feel like I'm disadvantaged in any way. It was just two different worlds. It's fine. And because I started young, you adapt easier when you're younger.
And then now getting into varsity to study medicine, how was that journey for you?
Wow, that was a difficult and interesting journey. And I say that because when I was in school, right? So when I was 9 years old, first year at the German school, I was in a bomb blast accident. So I got injured.
Bomb blast? What do you mean bomb blast?
Yeah.
Like bomb,
explosion, boom, boom. Yes,
Yo.
explosion. So back in, during the time when we were transitioning from apartheid South Africa, exactly. So there was a lot of instability, so you'd have explosions. So we're in town with my mom. It was a Friday afternoon, and I went to get my first set of glasses at an optometrist. And I remember asking, I need to use the bathroom. When you're a child, you constantly, I need the bathroom. So I needed a bathroom, and there was a shopping center right across from the optometrist called Tony Factors.
Yes, I remember it downtown.
Yeah, downtown. So she took me there, ordinary day, and we're going into the bathrooms, and then suddenly, boom, an explosion.
Bomb, bomb.
Bomb, bomb.
Not Yashaga, bomb, bomb, bomb.
No, not Yashaga. Like, SRS, like a proper explosion, So we were in there, unfortunately involved in it. We were not terribly injured while we're here. We've survived it, and there's some people who are badly injured during that incident. And then that was my first exposure to healthcare workers and healthcare, because I had to be taken to casualty, just to be checked on. And my aunt actually reminded me of this last year. She said, you remember what you said on that hospital bed when you were 9?
Wow.
You said, you want to take care of children like yourself who find themselves. I was like, shoot, I'm telling you, at 9 years old, I was already thinking that. But because it was my first exposure, and I was inspired by that. And then later on, when I was diagnosed with cancer, then that sort of notion was reinforced that I need to get into medicine in some way.
Wow.
And because I spent a lot of time with the cancer journey, in and out of a public hospital, and I received great treatment. Funny enough,
No, public hospitals, I mean, some are very exceptional.
some are very
So
exceptional.
we must not
exactly.
always believe what we read, because there are good
Exactly.
nurses, there are good doctors in those institutions,
Absolutely.
and they do care.
They
you,
do.
You know, it might be, for example, some administrative issue here and there, but
Yeah.
on a general note, they give good care.
They give good care, and we train some of the best doctors and
In the
nurses.
world.
Exactly.
In the
That's why
world.
they are being poached everywhere.
Everywhere.
You know. And so just that journey for me then reinforced I need to go into medicine. But having been sick, and I was about 14, 15.
Okay.
You know, when you're sick, then it impacts your academic
I
performance.
can imagine.
You know, I gave it my all. When I was not in a hospital bed, I was in
school. Wow.
I made sure of it just to keep some semblance of normality in my life. And so getting into varsity after that, I had to improve my grades. So I had to start with physio. I started with physiotherapy.
Oh, really?
I did.
Sure.
I started with physio for 2 years because I was like, oh gosh, I need to improve myself and be ready. And after that, then I got into medicine. I changed into medicine 2 years on because I thought, you know what, I think I'm ready.
This is what I want to do.
This is what I want to do. And that's how my journey into medicine continued.
I remember once you shared a story with regard to how you got admitted. Because as you said, you were doing physio before.
Yeah.
And then that admission journey was not smooth sailing.
No, it was not. And at that time, they've changed the program now at Wits, right? And at that time, I sort of said, no, I want to change from second year already and go into medicine. And I was told, no, that doesn't happen. You know, you need to finish the whole 4-year degree first, and then you're going to go into medicine. I was like, but I don't have time to do 4 years. I don't need to do, why do I need to do 4 years? Because I know now.
You can do it.
I can do it. And some of the courses that you do in first year medicine and first year physio is all sort of the same. Second year it changes a little bit, but you still do anatomy, physiology, and some similarities. And so I had to write to the dean.
Oh, wow.
I had to write to our faculty, Professor
like
Max
a motivation.
A motivation.
Oh, wow.
You know, I had to write a motivation. I remember, you know, usually you deal with the admissions officers on the normal. And I remember one of them said, we don't accept any Tom, Dick, and Harry into med school. I was like, wow. I'm like, okay. And then me, I was like, I'm not Tom, Dick, and
Come
Harry.
on now.
I'm Nonkululeko Boikhutso. That was my
Yeah,
maiden surname,
yeah.
you know? And so no, I'm not. And she gave me a hard time, that lady. And we said, then what is the next step? You know, so my mom and my aunt were there with me throughout the journey. And we wrote to the dean and to motivate, this is my story. This is why I want to do this. I've done well in my second year of physio, And he was wonderful. I'll never forget him.
Amazing.
I'll never forget him.
You must give him a shout out.
You know what? I must Professor Max Price.
Professor Max Price.
Yes.
Was he the one at UCT?
Yes.
Okay.
He became the VC at UCT.
Okay.
Wonderful. And just to give me that opportunity and look at today where I am because somebody decided I'm going to give this young lady
amazing.
An
opportunity. Thank you, Professor Max Price. Here you've got your doctor now.
Yes.
She's the CEO. Because, you know, somebody taught me never forget the Mordecais.
Yeah.
The people that stand for you
Yeah.
in the middle. Let's say you need something approved or you need,
Yeah.
because they're the people that they might not seem significant,
Yeah.
but they're actually very important at a point in your life. So
Absolutely.
it's important to always remember that. So now, after moving into medicine, when did it hit you that you want to put down the scrubs and put on the stilettos?
Hey, put on the stilettos. I would have never thought. So I had a 15-year plan, believe it or not, from fifth year varsity. Because around fifth year, you already need to start thinking, so what do you want to do, you know, after you qualify, because then you have to specialize and all of that. And so I had a 15-year plan. And my plan was, okay, I'm going to do internship, community service, specialize in pediatric surgery. So I wanted to do surgery, then do ped surgery.
My previous guest was actually a pediatrician.
This
is so amazing.
I did. I was like, okay, I want to do that. But then eventually after 15 years, I want to open a children's hospital in Johannesburg.
Wow.
You know,
what a vision.
I'm telling you, because I was like, there isn't one in Johannesburg.
And there was not.
There wasn't at that time in 2004. I'm like, we need one in Johannesburg where it could treat children like me and they don't have to go to a big hospital with adults.
Overwhelming.
It's overwhelming, you know, for kids to experience all of that. You know, for me, the trauma of getting diagnosed, right?
At a young age.
At a young age, and you have to go to x-ray departments where there's this, it's just a scary place, you know. So I thought I want to have a children's hospital where children can go even if you're sick, because sometimes you can't prevent illness, where they can be safe. And so that was the plan. And so I realized probably 2 years into working after I'd qualified that I thought, okay, if the ultimate dream
is to own.
Yeah, how about I find a way to get there without first going into all these other, yeah. So I thought maybe that's what I need to do. And you also realize as you're working that, you know, we're not solving things to keep people healthy. We're not keeping people healthy. People are coming in through our doors. They go out, they come back, they're sick again. You know, and I thought to myself, but we need to know what's making people sick. Why can't they keep well? You know, so that's why I ended up specializing in public health medicine, to say at population level, what can we do for people? And for people who are managing health services, what must they do right?
Wow.
You know, I remember one night I was working in casualty, and we had to fight. There's a tool that we use, an instrument that we use, right, to treat a patient. There was one in the hospital, and there were 2 patients.
Sure.
So the other doctor and I now are fighting over this thing. And he says, no, but I need it for my patient tomorrow. I'm like, but I need it for my patient
tonight.
now. I'm like, but why are we even having to have this fight? We should have these things available to us when we need them. You know, so it's those instances when I was working that pushed me to say, no, I want to get to the children's hospital. I want to make sure that I provide an environment where doctors can work and nurses can work and have the tools that they need to work. And that's really when I decided somebody has to do
Somebody has to do
that. Exactly. So really.
But I hear your name. You're not famous. Your family is not known. You know, in South Africa, there are the struggle stalwarts, certain surnames.
Yeah.
And then the post comes,
Yeah.
CEO, Nelson Mandela Hospital. What gave you that guts to say, you know what, I'm going for it?
So to be honest with you, it happened. This one was an incidental one. So what happened was I was working at Mandela as the head of clinical services. So I was in charge of the doctors and the allied health professionals for about 2.5 years, right? And then at some point, my boss, because of what was happening at the time, resigned.
Okay.
Together with the CFO. So there was literally a leadership vacuum in the hospital because the 2 most senior people resigning on the same week.
Oh my goodness.
It was so unstable. And so I was the next then senior person after that. And I was asked, can you please come and assist us because these people have left. And at that time, there was a transaction going on, you know, with another company. And everybody was unhappy because of the transaction. People were leaving. My goodness. And there I go. And they said, can you? And I said, okay, if there's no one else, I'm going to do it. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to put my hand up. It was risky. My husband did not necessarily agree with me because he was like, are you sure? I don't think this is a good idea. You know, but I just thought, look, I've been in the hospital. I'm passionate about this. The idea of a children's hospital has always been in my heart. You know, I may not have this experience to be a CEO. I've never done it anywhere.
Sure.
But I understand healthcare. I understand hospitals because I've worked in hospitals at that time, I think I'd been in hospitals for at least 13 years, you know, 15 years actually. So I was like, but I understand the environment. So I think I'm ready. God will guide me in terms of what to do. You guys just pray for me.
And they say that, you know what, he qualifies the called. Yeah. Because you might not necessarily see yourself, because I think as a woman, as you say, if there was a leadership vacuum, you probably had to deal with some self-limiting beliefs from yourself to say, who's Nkuli, can she do it? How did you overcome that?
Sure. And that's a very important point. I remember one night I was sitting in bed. We had to prepare a business plan because now the board was saying, okay,
you are here.
Fix the problem. You know the problem. Tell us how you're going to do it. I was sitting in my bed. I remember thinking to myself, what were you thinking? What, girl? What were you thinking? Like, what were you thinking, girl? Maybe this time you've bitten more than you can chew. And I was like, no.
No, I'm going for it.
You're
the gal.
I'm the girl. Yeah. I'm like, God, you're going to show me. And I sat in there, I looked at that computer. You know, I had to calm myself down, you know. And I'm like, God, you wouldn't have allowed. Because my prayer always, with any opportunity I look at, I said, God, if it's not for me, you'll make sure that it doesn't happen. But it's for me.
I've heard somebody say, what God cannot do, let it remain undone.
Let it remain.
Let it remain
Exactly.
undone.
Exactly.
Because the thing about it is, if He says it's for you,
Yeah.
He will equip you and make sure that you
Indeed.
succeed and you perform with excellence.
Which is what he did. I'm like, he's not gonna put me up there just to embarrass me and shame me. That's not gonna happen, you know. And so but you have to deal a lot with that, and you find that. I remember in those first few weeks, people telling me, no, when you're such a nice person, but we're not sure if you've got the vision to do this, you know. Have you ever done something like this? And some of them are older people, you know, that you look up to, and you're like, but how can you be? You should be encouraging me.
A typical example of the unconscious bias.
Yes.
Because in corporate, we've experienced it.
Yeah.
And how did you overcome that, dealing with the unconscious bias?
You know, I realize that it's a reality, right? It's what's going to happen. Yes, I'm a young black female. It comes with the territory.
Yeah.
It has always come with it. And the first comment people always make, oh, you're so young. I'm like, okay. It is what it is. But you have to be competent. And I told myself that it's the competence and I'm going to deliver. I'm not going to compromise on how I deliver, on how I run the organization. And now we're friends with some of those because it's 4 years later since I took over as CEO. Thank you.
Love it.
And here we are. So for me, it's the delivery that matters. Deliver on the work, and that's it. And the work will speak for itself.
How do you keep yourself motivated? Because it's a lot of work. I mean, I engage with a lot of women in corporate, a lot of women in business, and especially as black women. It's always mad. You always have to chase the MBA. You always have. Now, people are not enough. They're doing PhDs.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's always having to chase the next. But how do you become motivated to say, you know what, Nkuli, you are enough? How do you keep yourself going and yet still remaining centered without always having to fight to show up?
You're right. Because a lot of us feel like, I think black women are very qualified.
Very.
Abo
girl, we're achieving.
I'm
a belt.
I'm
a belt
on belts and certificates on certificates, and yet we are enough, you know. And for me, I also have the right social support, and I thank God every day that He brought the husband that I have into my life.
Shout out to the husband.
No, shout out to Nonkululeko. No, shout out who reminds me when I forget, when I'm feeling weak.
Nice.
You are enough. You can do this job, you know. And a person remind, what does God say about you? We remind each other of that every single day. Good day. What has God said about you and your life? Don't forget. It's easy to forget, you know, when things become difficult and overwhelming. You have to go back on your knees to God and say, God, you are the one.
You are the one.
You are the one. And to have a partner who can walk with me on this path.
Nice.
To have a mom who still prays for me. I think she's even asked people at church to pray for us at the hospital. And I'm like, God, you need that support, you know. And I also take time to walk around in the hospital to talk to some of the patients and their moms, and that motivates me. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I was working with a porter. I decided, no, today I'm going to be a porter. I'm going to put my scrubs back on, put the stilettos aside, and understand what is his journey every day in the hospital. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And just that.
Because I think what you say, it's a demonstration of what we call servant leadership.
Right.
Because the thing about it is leadership is not a position, but it's more how you serve others. You know, I mean, for example, the word minister is not necessarily a title, but it's a place of serving.
Absolutely.
And so when you say you switch the stilettos to scrubbed to be with a potter and understand his journey, now that is notable. You know, and that is amazing. And then you even indicated that your husband provides you with support. You got a husband, you've got beautiful children. How do you maintain that balance? Because the myth is that black women can do it all. They can juggle it all and they can do it all. It's so demanding, and I think it gets exhausting. How do you remain so centered and so nurtured with regard to balancing life, running a whole Nelson Mandela hospital, and still coming home to those people that love you the most?
And still coming home and cooking dinner.
And cooking
What's
dinner?
for dinner?
Is it macaroni and cheese, or do you get them to cook?
No, my kids are very young. They're 13 and 10. My husband at least helps with the cooking when he can. But I still want to be, what's important for me, my family is very important. And I've even told them at work that, you know, we are not just people at work. We're whole human beings.
Right.
You know, once the work has come and gone, there are people that will be left. So, you know, the families, work comes and goes, but families are consistent. And so for me, just taking care of my children, making sure that I'm there for them is priority.
Right.
More than anything in my life. And so it is difficult. I know people say you can have it all. No, you cannot have it all.
Can't you have all burnt flakes?
Yeah. You can have it all this morning. No, so you can't, and it's okay. It's okay. You need to prioritize what's important. I spend less time with my friends now because now I'm a soccer mom and every weekend I'm out, and that's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. You have
Black woman, it's okay.
It's okay. You don't have to be hard on yourself. You don't have to be perfect. You know, we always want to portray this image, I've got it all figured out. No, you don't. And accept, one thing I've learned to just accept help. Accept help, ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness when you need help. It's in fact, it's empowering because you realize that I need people to compliment me where I am short. You know, get help in the home, somebody to come and help you in the house with the cleaning of your house. You can't.
You need help.
You need help so that you can be the best version of yourself and make sure that you take care of you. Because one person that you always forget in all of this
is you. Sure.
You completely forget yourself from your health point of view. So I've had to realize that after all this running, you know, in trying to get things fixed at the hospital, there's still Nkuli who needs to live 30 more years, 40 more years on this planet. And what am I doing to keep myself healthy, to keep my brain working and in check? So I always take time for myself.
I love it.
Just
what
me,
do you
no
do
kids.
when you take time for yourself?
I play the violin.
Oh, really?
I do, girl.
Oh, nice.
I don't know what I was thinking. I do. But I realized that an instrument or anything that's different from work, it uses a different part of your brain.
And it creates like a work-life balance.
A work-life balance. And when it's the violin, it's just me and my teacher and the violin, and we speak about music, nothing else.
I love it.
You know, so it's just time for myself to enjoy myself and enjoy my life. And then I'll get back to work and children and everything else. Yeah.
Somebody's sitting and watching and saying, I like her. I want to be like her. What do you say to that person?
Oh, be like you, because God made you perfect. But anyway, work hard, stay true to yourself, trust in God, guys. Like, I can never emphasize enough the importance of my relationship with God. Throughout my life, I've seen it. I've seen what He has done. There's nothing about my life that would have said, you're going to become this.
Right? Because as you're narrating your story, I'm thinking from being diagnosed as a child with cancer, then going through the journey, then God turning it around full circle, and now you're the custodian of the lives. That's, you know, it's sort of your whole mirror. And because the fact that you're saying that your relationship with God is actually what brought you here. Because, you know, I was thinking about you when you were indicating that how you were actually elevated to the position because there was a leadership vacuum. And for the position that you're in, you hear the name, you hear the legacy. You would think that, you know, in South Africa, there's certain things that wabonormo. But it wasn't like that. And if God was not an integral part of the story, certain doors would not have been opened, certain opportunities you wouldn't have landed in. And I like it how He orchestrates, and nothing is a coincidence because I believe that He knew your heart because of the journey you've traveled. You will be able to relate.
Exactly.
You will be able to relate with the moms because you saw your mom carry you. You relate with the children because how babona you see yourself through their eyes. How amazing.
No, absolutely. And so for me, He has been really the foundation. You know, somebody said, hey, well, no, you're God's child. It's me. 100.
God's favorite one, actually.
I'm like, because there's no way I could have done what I've done without the guidance, Him orchestrating when you're not watching, and He's doing these things on our behalf and going ahead on our behalf. And so for me, really, I give thanks to Him. And always, even now. Always.
Absolutely. So when everything is said and done, let's say you close the door on the Nelson Mandela Hospital chapter, what would it be that you want to be remembered by?
Sure, and that I've been thinking about that a lot, you know, lately. I've been thinking about that a lot to say, okay, what do I want? What did I achieve? You know, how do I want to be remembered by the people that I've worked with? And for me, I really want people to remember that there was someone who really cared, who genuinely cared
I love it.
and loved the work. You know, I care for not just the children and the moms, but the people that I work with.
Wow.
You know, because I understand what they have to sacrifice for us to take care of these people. And so for me, just to care for them. That's what I want to be remembered by. But no, there was someone who once cared for us, genuinely did, and our well-being. And really, that's the legacy, personal legacy that I'd like to leave behind.
I love it. And beyond the hospital, the legacy with your family, because you've got beautiful children, you have beautiful, your awesome husband. How are you then going to make them remember you?
You know, one of the things I've discussed with my kids, I just told them, I must be present. I must be a present parent.
Wow.
You know, there must always be memories when I'm gone, when they're in their old age. Oh, my mom was present.
Right.
My mom imparted wisdom
Right.
in me.
And also, as you said, you're a soccer mom, you help and you're present. And also how then, because people think that from the outside, you make it look easy. You make it look easy. But what are the things that you can give to somebody who says, look, I'm a working mom, I'm trying to push my PhD, the MBA and all of that. What is it that I can do to become a woman that my children remember?
Yeah. You know, children remember not what we say, but what we do.
Okay.
They really do. They'll remember a little bit what we say, but they watch us. Our kids are always watching, and you know, they are probably our biggest critics and our biggest fans. You know, and so to those working moms, it is difficult. Make sure your kids understand what you're doing. My kids know what I do.
All right.
And why it's important.
Do you articulate and communicate it to them?
I do. They know, oh, my mom works at, she's whatever. I want to be like my daughter made a speech about me at school. I was just so touched by it, you
Beautiful.
know. So at least they absolutely understand, but they also understand that they're important and I love them. And they need to hear those words because sometimes you can't be there physically.
Get it.
Right? But they need to know that mommy loves them. Every day, don't spare that moment with them. Yeah, tell them. But you know, when I leave my home in the morning, we pray together. Love you guys. Have a good day. Let that be the thing they hear all the time. Whether you're physically present or you're not, they know that mommy loves them. Because there are single moms, you know, who it's very difficult. You have to work. You have to take your kids to school, and it's hard. But let your kids remember that you love them.
You love them.
You love them. You care for them. Then,
and I think what is also beautiful with your husband also demonstrating love as a couple to your kids. How have you managed to keep that going? Because you guys are both career oriented. You're flourishing in your careers respectively. So how do you remain to keep that flame alive between the two of you so that your children also can leverage of that experience for themselves?
You know, fortunately for us, we're good friends. So we've been married now. I mustn't get it. 12 years.
Yay!
Yeah. We've been married for 12 years and we've remained, and marriage is a journey. You know, it's not an easy journey, but it's a journey. It's a labor of love.
I love it.
You know, it's not about being in love and feeling butterflies. It's a conscious decision every day that this is the person that I want to build my life with, that I want to support, and he supports me. And so we are very good friends. You know, we like each other, which is great because then it's easier to be in love with somebody that you like. You know. And we've also made a conscious decision. We don't fight really, and we definitely don't argue in front of the kids because kids pick it up when things are not, you know, they'll ask, are you guys okay, or this and that. But because we've remained friends and we talk, fortunately my husband talks more than I do, which is a blessing because most guys don't talk. So the fact that we talk and you communicate, I'm not feeling like this, and you know, I'm feeling weak today, or you feeling weak today, and we support each other that way, then at least it keeps the flames going. And you know, flames you need to stoke.
Because what I love is that your whole life, like from your career, your family, everything then balances out. And what are your parting shots to our audience? Because some of them are probably looking how to change their career. Many are at the crossroads. I mean, we get, for example, with the current economic climate, you face that. I mean, as I said, our previous guest was a doctor, and we addressed the thing of, let's say, doctors now not finding work, and it's not easy. There's somebody who says, I know, I had a colleague, we were in IT for a long time, and at the age of 42 she says, I'm stopping this, I'm doing what I want. And she went to go study medicine.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And so there are people who are at the crossroads of their careers. What would your advice be to them?
So for me, guys, you need to be able to take the leap of faith.
The leap of
You need to
faith.
take the risk. You know, if you're afraid and you don't have the courage to go for what you want, then you'll remain where you are. You know, throughout my career, I've made decisions where people are thinking, why would you do that? It's safer not to do this. But I'm like, but that's not my path.
Right.
I'm going to take the difficult, unpopular route because I feel that is my route.
And look where it brought you.
Exactly.
Look where it brought you. Because when I think of your story, it's so amazing. Because normally the trajectory is that be a doctor, open your practice, consult with private, and do your practice, and then you'll be fine. But then you know how your story is so different. I really love that. And you can see that once you make your story uniquely yours, your journey will not be the same.
Absolutely.
And that's really what makes you different, and that makes you unique. Right.
Thanks for that. Yeah.
I
So
love that.
let's
I
have
love
the courage.
the courage to take the leap of faith.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for watching and tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, and follow us. And as you heard from Doctor, that you must take that leap of faith so that your life turns out to be the best that God has created you to be. Please continue to subscribing and liking and journey with us here on the Queendom Network. And remember, I am Khomotso Mamelewi Mutsidi, your amazing host. See you again next time. And our verse for the week is Joshua 1 verse 8. This book of the law, thou shalt meditate thereupon day and night, and do everything that it is written therein, so that you can have good success. We're all looking for success, but the word reminds us that we must meditate on the word day and night. Why do you think meditation gives you good success? But because everything we have started with the word. And once you have the word, then God gives you the keys to build eternal and transgenerational wealth. So make sure that you meditate on the word of God so that God can open you up and that you have good success.